That was one of her concerns. I want to thank you all for being here today. I'm going to try and get through this. You know, TV commercials and Bruce Springsteen songs make me cry, so I'm going to work my way through this. We're here today to celebrate my mom's life. She seemed to die so suddenly that it may seem sad, but as a lot of you know, she was in a lot of pain, a lot of discomfort, and she made a really brave decision to do that. So if you're looking for a sad song, I'm not going to play that today. Most of you that are here got to know her when she was older, in her 70s and 80s. You know, you think grandma. My lasting memory is of a younger woman, the one I knew growing up. I can see her sitting in the living room of our house, kind of sliding by the coffee table with a cocktail and a cigarette in her hand, entertaining her friends. Picture more of a Judy Garland or maybe somebody from the cast of Mad Men. My mother was a working mother before we even called it that. She commuted to New York City every day from New Jersey for work. And the thing I remember is not that her being gone for work, but her being together with my dad and myself. The three of us ate breakfast together pretty much every morning, my entire childhood until I went away to go to college. Growing up, my house was always the house where we hung out. My friends were always welcome there. As I got older, that continued. Steve and his family came from New Jersey. They were probably with us for Thanksgiving or Christmas every year for 20 years. And then she also looked at my friends as part of our family. There's some people here today, some of my friends here today, who've been on vacation with my family and my mother. Lindsay and Max and Linda and I loved being able to go on vacation with her, because she would enjoy being out there doing things and living the world that she loved. Speaking of my kids, that is, for those of you that don't know, Max is in Israel, and don't go on Facebook because he doesn't know this happened yet. We're trying to wait till he gets home to tell him. That was what my mom was all about. There was nothing she wouldn't do for the kids, for Linda or me. Mom always saw and expected the best in others, and that's the way she lived with us. Time after time, she was ready to come down here and help when somebody was sick or needed something. She really enjoyed her life, so when we were in the hospital and we were talking about this, and she made this brave decision, she said that she had a great life. Mom said she had a great career and a wonderful marriage. She and my dad were married 57 years when he passed away. All my life I would see their gentle, loving, still holding hands or watching Dad steal a smooch as long as he lived. She also said she had a great son. That we're still not sure about. She had great friends. When she was in the hospital, she couldn't fall asleep and rest because the phone kept ringing with somebody from New Jersey or from here checking to make sure she was okay. 3 of her friends from New Jersey, Thelma Cohn, Doris Levin, and Muriel Rothman, got up at 6 o'clock this morning and were driven here so they could be here today. They've been friends a long time. Muriel, I think, was at my bris. So I appreciate that extra effort. Now, some of you may find that this is a sad thing. We've lost an old friend, or in some cases, a new friend. My friends that are here, you got to know my mom through my mother and father's many visits here, and after she moved here to Maryland. And she became a Nationals fan, for those of you that are checking. And you may be thinking how much Linda, Lindsay, Max, how we'll all miss her. But frankly, she'd rather we were here having a good time. Frankly, she'd rather be having a vodka and a steak at the River Palm. So, we all have great memories of her, and I hope you'll enjoy the happy ones. And the one thing I can assure you is this: if you're here, and we're here, then she's here. So keep her love with you. I know I always will. Thank you.
Thank you for those beautiful words. I didn't have the honor of knowing Vivian, but when I met with you yesterday, Rich, Linda, Lindsay, and Josh, I learned what an incredible presence and personality she was. Fiercely devoted to her family, wanting to help any way that she could. Excuse me, I'm going to turn this off. I'll project. Can you all hear me in the back? And it's better than hearing static, right?
Yeah.
Unless that's Vivian trying to communicate to us.
Could be.
Vivian was a woman who, by her own decree, would put on lipstick to take out the trash.
True.
She was a doyenne in New York who had a large circle of friends, and Rich, you mentioned her favorite restaurant and her favorite drink. Of all the stories that we shared, the one that I feel that captured Vivian best was something, Lindsay, that you told me. That your grandma would hold court at the Royal Palm restaurant, preferably at a round table, so everybody could speak, with her vodka on the rocks only in stemware, with a cold glass of water next to that, a glass of ice next to that, and cocktail onions on the side. What a great and vivid image you created for me, Lindsay. Thank you. And you told me that you and Josh visited her on the 4th of July, which at the River Palm, the restaurant should have been sold out weeks in advance. But you were there. Vivian picked up the phone, made a reservation. Her table was waiting for you. Apparently, making reservations was the best way that she cooked. Rich, you told me a story that actually sounds incredible, but I hope you don't mind that I share it with everybody. That your mother lived in a place for 19 years. And after 18 years, somebody said, Vivian, can I heat something up in your oven? And she said, sure. When they opened the oven, the original paperwork was inside it. Is that true? I'm getting nods.
It was her daughter or granddaughter that was cooking.
Right?
I have a witness.
Oven had never been used.
Vivian Rothschild was born in Jersey City on October 1st, 1928. The only child of Rose and Leon Auerbach. Her mother died when she was only 9, and she was raised by her Aunt Gert. And Gert really became her mother. Matter of fact, she thought of Gert and her husband Michael as her parents, and they actually adopted her. They really became her parents. Well, they were certainly the only parents she ever knew, and Rich, you said they were the only grandparents you knew. Vivian went to college, worked in the fashion industry, and she was hip. Linda, you described her as bohemian, a real broad. She smoked, she drank, she worked, and as you said, she was a career woman ahead of her time to the fullest. She would hang out in Greenwich Village. And, according to the family, she even went on a couple of dates with Lenny Bruce. Okay, I'm getting nods. And you told me that Walter, her husband, was the polar opposite. I'm getting nods, all right? Quiet, straight-laced. But their story is how opposites attract. They met on a blind date, and they married in 1950. Vivian was probably not even 22 at the time. And their marriage lasted 57 years, ending only with his death. Vivian and Walter, I'm sure, became the proud parents of you, Rich.
Absolutely.
Most days.
We're getting support from New Jersey. It's got to be true.
You're getting support from New Jersey.
Your home was a home of culture, discussion, and company. You already shared with us that it was a gathering place for your friends as well as your parents. And you and your parents were able to take care of all the cultural advantages of Manhattan, right across the river. You shared with me that Vivian was an avid theater goer, subscriptions to different theaters. She frequented Broadway. She loved theater. Vivian continued to work, heading promotions for Regal Knitwear. McCall's magazine created a position for her as well. Then Vivian started VAR Productions, her own TV and film production company, specializing in commercials and corporate films. You shared with me that your family celebrated the holidays with friends and relatives. The Rothschilds were longtime members of the Reformed Synagogue in New Jersey. Your mother was an active member of Port, probably for the social scene of it. She had lots of friends, and there was always somebody calling on her. Rich, you told me that you liked spending your summer at camps. There were not a lot of family vacations because you were out as a camper. But after you left home, your parents made up for it. did a lot of traveling. Rich, you fell in love with Linda. You married. Linda and I found out we're both natives of Washington, D.C. And the allure of D.C. was a little bit stronger than the allure of New Jersey, so you settled here, which didn't thrill Vivian. But she dealt with it, particularly when she became a grandmother to Lindsay and Max. And you told me that your mother wanted to make frequent visits because she wanted Lindsay and Max to remember her, to know her. That was you said that was the fear that she expressed. Her love for the grandchildren was truly unconditional, and there was no judgment. She was supportive of them at all times. She was always there for family. I learned that Lindsay and Max could discuss anything with Vivian, sometimes even before they discussed them with the two of you. Lindsay told me that her grandma told her to keep doing what she was doing, put in the work, and enjoy the fruits of her labor. Rich and Linda's friends, those of you here got to know her as well. And you knew how funny she was, how dynamic, and how direct. The sense I got is Vivian thought it, she said it. So you knew exactly where Vivian stood. And Lindsay, you shared with me that she shared her theater-going passion with you as well. Good times at Broadway, sing Spamalot with her. Maybe one of 30 Broadway musicals you two shared. And you told me that when Bruce Vilanch, the comedian, I don't know if you're familiar with Bruce, he's a heavyset comedian and a writer, he was cast as Edna Turnblad in Hairspray. And she played it on Broadway, and she toured, and she played the Mechanic Theater. And that you all went up to see it, because it turns out your mother and Bruce's mother were buddies. And you went backstage and really had a very, very special time. You told me that your parents were members of the country club, more for socializing than for golf and card games. When your dad died in 2007, you told me that your mother missed him terribly. But again, she prevailed. She continued to socialize. She loved the time she spent with her friends, and I'm sorry that I'm not mentioning all of you, but the names that came up are Muriel Rothman and Doris Levin. And Doris, we found out we both pronounced the name correctly. She became such a fan of the Nats that on the day before she died, she was even watching a Nats game. In her 84 years, your mother made the most out of life. In the Jewish faith, we believe that the spirit is eternal. And a spirit as powerful as your mother's will make as strong an impression in the world to come as she did here. I can imagine her right now talking to the angels, saying, I want a round table, vodka and stemware, a glass with water, and a glass of ice, and onions on the side. What a legacy she left, her love of family, her appreciation for the arts, and the importance of good friends. May she rest in peace, and let us affirm by saying, Amen.
Very good.
In your care, O God, we entrust the spirit of Vivian Rothschild, for you keep faith with your children in death as in life. Please rise for the El Nole Rachamim.